That's one thing. And then when we look at the whole Colin Kaepernick situation and all of the various points of view, it seems that things are slanted to a large degree toward people not being in agreement with his stance, yet and still his jersey sales are number one. So when you try to reconcile, well, obviously there's a degree of popularity and people support him because his records, keep saying record sales, his jersey sales have gone from 20 to number one. There's something wrong with that picture. So I was doing some research on black media and what it is that black media means to America, black America in particular. And the picture is very bleak in radio and TV. In 2013, there were 166 black-owned radio stations and 68 black-owned radio companies, compared to 250 stations and 146 black-owned companies in 1995. So we see the dwindling of these stations, and I'm going to. I've introduced the topic. I want Paparata to jump in and kind of just as I look over these notes, carry us to the next level in terms of what he sees in terms of why it is important that we sustain black media and get us off of life support.
Well, what's up, Griot Nation? It is your man, Amin Rashidi, a.k.a. Barbara, and big ups. I'm feeling pretty good today. A lot has been happening on this media platform and for this particular media platform. So let's start out by talking about a solution that is being represented as we have this discussion. We are an independent platform. Even though we're on a commercial platform, we own the rights to what we call Griot Nation. And not only Griot Nation Radio, but Griot Nation Network. And we have some group of Africans globally that are partnering with us as we speak to address that. Boom, put a pin in that. But it's showtime in America. Let's go back to Colin Kaepernick. Under a normal circumstance, he probably wouldn't even got in the game. But now that more people are watching, the ticket sales are going up, you put him in the game anyway. You found out the way to neutralize the strength of his cause, or his symbolism of the cause, if you would, by bringing everybody together. Cool, good to do, but guess what? Somebody else is writing the story. I started this conversation out by saying Griot Nation. Griot is the storyteller. Now, how we gonna be griots and somebody else gonna tell our story? Whoever writes the narrative writes the success or the failure of the story. Historically, in his story, we say whoever the victor is tells the true story. So when we came to this country, we considered to be 3/5 of a human. So the people who thought we was monkeys and goats and everything else are still telling the story about us. The same people that fought to make sure your kids didn't come to school, and we had governors and we had intellectuals and doctors and lawyers spitting on children with the Little Rock 9 to come in. We watched that on television, but someone else told you the narrative. I'm gonna show you how strong the narrative is. We were fighting for our human rights. We were fighting for the rights to be human beings. Somebody called them civil rights and became integration, now assimilation, and we've lost just about every damn thing we had. That gives you an example of how important the narrative is. It's so many things that we're doing. I was talking to PG on the phone the other day. We're riding. I'm on the freeway. We're just talking about different things that's going on. Some heavy shit that's really happening. And guess what? I'm saying, guess what? The world don't know this, PG, because we like, yeah, because we ain't got no platform to tell nobody on.
That's right.
So anyway, that's my take on it. So we can start to open up from that perspective is what I'm talking about.
So let's go back to the first black press. We're talking 1827. The first black-owned and operated newspaper was launched by a group of free black men in New York. It satisfied a very important need in the black community and in society at large. The mandate of Freedom's Journal was to counterbalance the character assassinations against black people printed in the mainstream press and to serve as a public voice against slavery. As time went on, the black press continued on to be both activist and informant for a community that was routinely ignored and maligned by mainstream media.
Well, what I think about
that was 1827.
1827. What I think about it, 1827, remember 1827, that means we were still enslaved. All right, so even in 1827, we had an independent press. But anytime that you've been oppressed, and let's look at current day, anytime you got to have a 1965 Voters Registration Act that allow you to vote and you consider yourself to be a citizen, you need to have independent media. You have to have some checks and balances. Anytime you got an amendment to a constitution that still allows you to be free, I don't care if you got a black president or not, you need to have some type of media platform. That's a checks and balances for you. Never let the people who dominated you, who enslaved you, who beat you and raped you and are still every 28 hours someone being killed, tell your story. Because your story is evidence of your existence. And after you're gone, guess what? Whatever someone thought about you is going to be told by the people who oppress you. That's dangerous. So key now, we make enough money, solution, to start networking together, you all. We got enough resources that we should tell our stories. I'm not surprised that black churches haven't bought it. I'm just thinking about networks that have resources together. Not a criticism, but an observation.
Well, one of the things that has happened to our networks is a lot of them have been sold.
Well, that's true.
Now,
BT,
Viacom,
Essence. Time
Incorporated owns Essence. Viacom owns BET.
Right.
Ebony and Jet were sold. They were sold to
they hung in there.
a private equity firm in Texas. And this is a black firm. And this firm, they say that they're actually committed to the brand. A black private equity firm in Texas. I was talking to Ace.
If somebody know, let us know.
I was talking. Yeah, I have the name written here somewhere.
Where they are is what I'm trying to find out. What city in Texas?
Okay.
I'm very curious.
Okay. I was talking to Ace, and he.
Someone saying something.
Who's on the line?
Sound like that, Brother Rudy?
Yeah, I'm on the line.
That's Ace. Okay.
Okay. Let me check my. Give me 1 second. Okay. And we got Ace and we got Brother Rudy. This is he works with Paul Mooney.
He's the manager.
He's the manager.
Yeah.
So Brother Mooney, Brother Rudy. he'll take that one and run with it. Brother Rudy.
He gonna get you. That was him, it wasn't
me. We're talking about black media and the last of a dying breed. Black media is on life support, essentially. What we're seeing is all of our major media corporations, they've been sold, the vast majority to white corporations. And of course, these brands have been built over decades. And right now, I don't know if you're in business, then your business is only as viable as your brand. And that is why, coincidentally, Donald Trump is doing so well. Because Donald Trump, although he appears to be a straight up blatant racist,
appears? Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to dodge that slander suit as if he goes sue me.
But racist as they come, go ahead.
Yeah, who appears to be a blatant racist, he's doing well. In fact, Emmanuel was telling me that he saw Killer Mike in a barbershop yesterday in Atlanta or Houston, one of the major cities, and there were about 10 people in there, and 8 of the brothers, and you're talking about hood brothers,
right?
8 of them said that they were voting for Trump. And all of this you can attribute to the viability of the Trump brand. So saying that to say, these brands that we built, Ebony, Jet, BET, Essence, once these companies were sold, the brand still held its viability. However, now there is someone else calling the shots and dictating the narrative. So when we talk about narratives, we're talking about trending topics, we're talking about news cycles, how long a news cycle lasts, what is relevant, what we need to be talking about in a given situation. In other words, right now, a trending topic is Colin Kaepernick. And he is in the news cycle. But when media that we don't own determine that news cycle shall end, whether it be on social media, because they also own this platform. This is
let's talk about the narrative. What he just said there. Look at that narrative. The narrative is Colin Kaepernick, a professional football player, is speaking out symbolically by kneeling when we play the national anthem. No disrespect to that, but there's no interest that they're showing in the black people who died. That ain't even being brought up. He mentions it periodically. That's nothing against him. But the narrative has been challenged to the point to where you get viewers and not people who really going to participate and identify with the cause. That has to be our narrative. The narrative is said, in spite of you black people being killed every 28 hours by a white police officer, we're going to continue to be in your face. We're going to continue to make sure you guys play football. You are not going to boycott us if you would. Now, I know the NFL has been real cool with this. You know why? Because you don't want them black folks to start watching the NFL. Period. So you see your power right about now, but you're not flexing it. I'm just saying we. It's all together. I'm not knocking it.
Okay, y'all, listen. We rolling today. For all of everybody out there who's viewing this, the phone number is 605-562-3140. That's 605-562-3140. You would then press 389-254 # and that will allow you to actually speak with us. If we have anybody who is on the line who would like to speak, press *6, and *6 will actually put you into our caller queue. From our caller queue, we will recognize you and we will allow you to have the floor.
Well, I want to say something too while we're doing that, so we all understand that before you jump in. I don't know who we got coming up, but we are actually on a commercial platform myself, Times Square Media, 93.7 WBLK, Hot 99.1 in Albany. Sometimes covered on Peace FM, Manchester, England, and several others. Peace FM, not Peace FM, but also Radio Phoenix, and there's a few others. And I won't just but I just want to give you the fact that we're independently owned, even though we're on the commercial platform. So we're on social media, and we call it CMO, Social Intervention Multimedia Outlet. So we can engage each other and dialogue on this platform on how we feel. You know why? Because there's certain things on that platform that he and I couldn't say, or me and Unseen couldn't say, because it's not ours, even though there's a disclaimer before we come on the air. And all I'm saying is sometimes you still get into conflicts with things you think you say in general that are cool. Before you know it, you get a letter, you get fined, or you get put off the air.
Or you get put off the air.
Yeah.
And this is, I see that our brother Roland Martin has made a very intelligent move. You know, Roland has created a parallel platform for his brand.
Okay.
Because he's on News One, which is the largest owned black multimedia corporation in America. However, you know, if by some political means then there is pressure on News One to release Roland, then Roland has created a separate lane for him to travel down, and he's immensely popular right now, and that's what I would suggest to anyone who is on a white-owned platform, black-owned platform. Create and establish and build your own brand so that you will be less handcuffed.
But here's another thing to add to that before we miss that. Just because it's black-owned don't mean that it could have subject matter that could be something that could be beneficial to us. Sometimes we put black-owned stuff together, man, and it'd be garbage. So the goal is make sure you maintain your integrity regardless. It's something I'm gonna say that's on I don't know, it's on the internet. I ain't gonna call the name out of it. It's something hip hop, whatever it is. But some of the stuff I see on that, man, is just through the roof. So we don't need to be exploiting ourselves. What's real is what's real.
Oh, world star.
Yeah, but I'm just saying some of the things that I see, man, are just out the box. And it comes to the point we got to question ourselves when we start to, if you would, exploit ourselves, and to what degree do we do that? And then we need to have some type of dialogue, excuse me, so we can have some measures as to how effective we're being.
Definitely. We got callers on the line. We got anybody want to chime in on this conversation? This is Brother to Brother with Amon Rashidi.
*6 on your phone. That's how you get in. Boom, I saw something move there. Who is that?
Okay. Well, if you guys, anybody want to speak, you go ahead and chime in. We're going to keep the conversation moving.
Well, Carter, but can we get his input, his money? Okay, put his money where his mouth is. Somebody, I think that's Sonya who said, which is a very good point. Sonya's asking that question about, people taking symbolic moves, but can they put their money where their mouth is? So he's a professional football player, multi-million-dollar contract, and she's asking the question, can you put your money where your mouth is? So we're one of those people who have a 501c3, and we're a place where you can put that money as a tax-deductible donation based off 30 years of work. And there's plenty of others that are out there. So that's a good suggestion if Colin is listening.
And he did.
He did. So he did. A big applause to him. Yeah.
Actually, he is donating the revenue from the jersey sales to nonprofits. I can't call the actual organization, but he's actually moving some things in the community. he's moving in a positive direction in the community with his finances. And I'm gonna say to brothers like Ray Lewis. Now, Ray Lewis, man, I have a tremendous amount of respect for this brother on the field. Gladiator, you know what I mean? Number one. However, Ray, some of the comments that you've been making regarding Colin, you know, this is just, I mean, I'm not gonna call it hatred, but it looks like you hating on Colin, because what they did, it seems like you allow the establishment to trot you out there to really, the first time he came out, I don't know if you heard Shannon Sharp's comments.
I did.
Shannon Sharp, brother.
He represented.
Listen, man, Shannon Sharp took it to a whole nother level. He took it to a whole he had a 7-minute version where he took it all the way there, and then he backed that up with a 14-minute version where Shannon Sharp just took it all the way to the end zone. And the second time they brought Ray out pretty much to neutralize Shannon. And Shannon wasn't having it, and they didn't get into a conflict, an altercation. You know, they're brothers, as we are Ray's brother. You know, but brother Ray, man, listen. Rather than speak on what Colin should be doing, and the fact that, well, I ain't seen him in the hood, and I've been doing this and I've been doing that. Hey, man, call that youngster to the table, man. Yeah, y'all fly out to Vegas and holler at him. Fly out to Frisco. You ain't working. You retired. You know what I mean? You can call in sick. Go out there and see that man and see if y'all can put something with something, man. You know, we don't need to have that type of division. We don't need to display that type of division in public amongst each other. So I'm going to continue to say I love Brother Ray. You know, however, there is a way to do this thing. We must do things, as the Christians say, decent and in order.
You know what? You know, you do have cats that they use to bully, you know, almost like a bully pulpit, where you get those brothers, if he was a dominant on the field, and you want that dominant personality to dominate anybody who appears to be militant, to anybody who steps over the line. And sometimes I see Ray in that position, even when he was calling people out and calling them thugs. Well, they didn't call the San Francisco Giants no thugs when they did $4 or $5 million worth of damage just because the team won. You know, and there was some thugs who jumped in there, and that was called thuggism when they jumped out there and they took that tea off that boat. You know what I'm talking about, the Boston Tea Party. You romanticized it. You know, you said F the police, and you hated that song, but Star Spangled Banner is talking about blowing up people and killing them too. It's once again, you wrote the narrative. And that's how powerful a narrative is. A narrative can take a situation that's pornographic and make it look romantic. A narrative can take a situation that, you know, anyway, I'm just going to stop right there.
That's real talk, man. You know, that narrative is vitally important. That narrative, dictating the narrative is vitally important. And I don't know if we necessarily understand, this is why we're having this particular dialogue today, because black media, you're talking about the last of a dying breed. You're talking about, I mean, this is our information source. You know, black media helps to shape our ideas. It helps to shape our culture. It helps to bring forth and bring to light those things that are important that we need to be dealing with as a family, as a community. And it deals with the interest. It should deal, black media should deal with what is in the best interest of black people. Once all of black media is sold, and once black media you know, is no longer in the control of black people who have the best interest of black people at heart, then we're left to our own peril.
Now, what I think the sister was asking about, what are you doing? Churches, actors, musicians. I tell you something that we should do in reference to that question is have a platform where we can start to answer those things. Like Lupe Fiasco is doing certain things. I know that LeBron James has a program, several extensive programs that's going on in reference to actors and athletes. I don't know the answer to all that, and I know some churches are doing some great things, but we need to have a platform that where we have more information regarding it. I agree with you on that.
They were saying that, and I did think about this. They were saying that these fools are buying his jersey to burn the jersey. So, you know, we benefit by default.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Keep on doing what you do.
But you know what you are, and then it goes back to, I had the opportunity, or had the privilege this morning to talk to a young man named Rudy. Rudy is the manager for Paul Moody, and we're about to have him on our commercial platform. And I'm greatly looking forward to that. And he said something about a travel pass regarding the driver's license. And definitely when I get him on the show, we want to talk about that. So be looking forward to that. So Brother Rudy, if you're listening, brother, I'm giving a shout out to you. And I'm saying that as an example to allude to a point. When I watched the Richard Pryor show, and I was really young back in the day at the time when that happened, and I really didn't understand as much as I would now. And didn't know Paul Mooney was doing the writing and what have you. But these were icons in that day. And there's a reason why that man wasn't on television. Had we owned our own network, then maybe we would have had the biggest show known to mankind, but he was taken off the air. And if you start looking at other people, Dave Chappelle, I guess, would be another example of someone who was doing something who didn't take the okie doke, but he wanted his own creative ideas as a part of his artistry. So, and that's probably why you don't see somebody who's a godfather like Paul Mooney, funny as hell and political as hell by most standards, and people try to back off it. Because you know he ain't gonna come with your real.
It's about the platform.
So if you don't have your own, sometimes your icons can't even get played. That's my point with that.
And we must support our own. You know, and I was reading an article in the New York Times, and I'm going to give credit to the people who wrote that article. This was written by Sidney Ember and Nicholas Fandos. They were, you know, in the article they went went and talked about the economic impact. You know,
Reclamation, more like that.
This boils down to economics. You know, our not being able to have this platform and expand our platform, elevate our media platforms is economic based. Right. And because, you know, you have to have advertisers. So what type of corporations, black corporations, are being supported by black dollars who are willing to actually partner with shows, media companies? All of these things are relative, you know, because if you feel like if you are a multi-billion-dollar black corporation, and then but vast majority of your resources, your finances are generated by white people, then as soon as you support something that mainstream would consider controversial, then you'll start seeing people begin to leave. To not patronize your business.
Like athletes lose endorsement. Brandon Marshall lost an endorsement for what
he lost one, but big respect to Russell Simmons.
Yeah.
Brother Russell Simmons, he offered, he said, we're going to find him, and we're going to sit down at the table, and we're going to put some money in his pocket. You know, we're going to offer him an endorsement deal. Is actually what he said.
Yeah, we had Russell on the show a couple 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks in a row. So, you know, we're starting to get a chance to have dialogue with those who have resources and influence too. So now the ground and the air, the affluent, the uninfluent, the educated, the uneducated, the conscious, the unconscious, the Christian, the Muslim, the non-believers. Guess what we're doing now, you all? We're starting to have a communication issue. We're starting to communicate with each other. And finally, it's about time. Necessity has put us in a position that we have to start to talk with each other. But be careful, we have to keep our platforms alive. Here's a good example for platform. They took away remotes. They took away remotes because the people were galvanized. I've been saying this for the longest, and that's what we're going to start doing more.
No, what do you mean by remotes?
When I say remotes, being where the people are. That's where radio really had its origin. At one time, radio was for everyone who was on the air. Because there was no television. So when we put our show together, the reason we were successful, I put the show together with the idea that mama, daddy, sister, cousin, young and old would all be sitting down listening. People like, well, man, that could be profane. Listen, you don't know what father said in their mothers in the center of the nuclear family. You're going to say some things that's going to be somewhat objective. But that's why you got the parents there. So I'm saying to you now, we have to have remotes where people can gather. How many of y'all would be talking right now if me and this man was sitting out somewhere with you? If me and Unseen was somewhere, see where the people are. See, that's what the politicians do. They take their platform. That's a radio platform. They take it and they call it a campaign and they galvanize people. And when they're touchable, now see what I saw on television in reality. We got to do the same things again. Show up at your businesses and then that'll draw more traffic to your business. I don't care if it's one or two. I'm telling you what I know, not what I'm guessing.
But it takes sponsorship. It takes sponsorship to be able to travel, to be able to get that bus, to be able to get on that plane, to be able to get those huge signs, to be able to rent those venues. It takes, I'm big on, when we first started this show, I was big on this, and I'm always going to be big on black people taking their expendable income. We have $1.2 trillion in buying power. I know what we do with our money. My meal cost $25 last night. $25. You know what I mean? So I know that most people probably don't. Their meal probably will not cost $25, but I know that I throw money away. I know that we all throw money away, whether we throwing it away on Jordans, red bottoms, Gucci, Prada, Louis. I mean, we throwing a lot of, we have a lot of expendable income, and we need to re-examine where a lot of our resources, our financial resources are going, and take a portion of that. If we would just take a portion of that and contribute it to black causes. In fact, I believe that the Nation of Islam has an economic blueprint that says that if you give, I believe it is 25 cents a week, then if everyone in America was doing that, then at the end of the year, that would equate to $191 million in spending power. You know, this is simple math. And,
Yeah.
and it amounts to less than $20 a year. So, you know, to these platforms, we need to get organized, because to these platforms, if I give a one-time donation to the Nation of Islam of $20, I've done my part. You know, if you give a one-time donation of $20 to Griot Nation Radio, reclaimingthevillage.org, you go there and you give to that platform. You go and you give to Professor Griff's platform. You go and you give to my man, Brother Rich, his platform. Anybody who is actively working in the community, give to that platform so that these platforms can expand and be successful.
Well, to my man up in Harlem, I think 90.3, my man Hodge, he talked about us getting together, networking all of our social media platforms, also connecting and networking with those commercial platforms that we have together, and then being able to promote each one by cross promotion. We need to really start doing that more, and he's overdue to get on the air with us, and so we can start doing those things. And I want to say also too, big shout out to Erica too, because she's getting records exploring some of the same things that we need to do to decriminalize America. So when someone stops you, because I want you to understand something, if you have a felony now, many colleges and universities you can't go to. You got a felony now, there are many apartment complexes you can't go to. I said a felony. There are many things you can't get just with a felony. And many times when you plea bargain just to save your life and you can't afford adequate, attorney fees, what ends up happening is you plea bargain injustice, you get a felony, your life has changed dramatically. So I'm saying to you all, those are the things that's a part of our development also as we go forward, because every one of these issues plays a role. Here's the other thing too, you all. We got to find a time, a place where we can celebrate. This is what I mean by that. We have to network all the time where we ain't so serious and ain't so angry. We meet people by accident. You understand what I'm saying? You don't build homes and build nations by accident. They're built on purpose, place, time. So we're going to be doing what we call Get Fresh Thursday. Hey, I'm not going to be popping up the world and y'all missing what we're doing right here at home. Get Fresh Thursday. After the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, it's game time. We've been sacrificing long enough. I'm not going to push the yard ball out in somebody else's yard. You need to be coming to our yard right about now. If you're in Dallas, also the studio is going to be there. So 25th, 26th, 27th, you get ready. One central location. One centralized location. Whether you're Nigeria, my sister girl from Joy, Sister Promise, and I met several different people from different nations who have the resources but need to just partner with a platform. That's it, you all. Resources, platform, just make the connection. All right, I just want to make sure y'all understand, me and this man ain't sitting up here just talking and they ain't got no solutions and they ain't got no connections. And some of the connections that we have, even though they may not work for us, they may work for you.
Exactly, and we want and we have to have a global mindset.
That's true.
Moving forward, we have to have a global mindset in everything we do. So I would say maybe 10, 15 years ago, and fortunately, thanks to social media, thanks to the information age and how information is so abundant and accessible, a lot of people have grown. It has allowed people to be able to, and through that growth, many stereotypes have been broken down about in barriers about how a person might see a person from Nigeria or how a person might see a person from Tanzania. You know what? I saw a brother the other day. He was walking downstairs, and I thought he was a brother from South Dallas until he opened his mouth. You know what I mean?
And that's what the police think too when he stopped.
And that is what the police think as well. So I mean, these brothers and sisters from the mother country, these are our true brothers and sisters. This is our family. But the difference is they are connected to a nation. They are connected to a homeland. We're connected to our open enemy. That's what we identify with what our open enemy established as a nation, as our homeland. If you don't believe this man is our open enemy, just go down Colin Kaepernick's, go to his Twitter and look at his timeline. Go to Shannon Sharp and look at his timeline. And Lil Wayne, did you hear what this young man said?
Nope, I haven't
See,
heard.
I don't like, even with Lil Wayne,
What-
you know, I'm hard pressed to get on.
What
You
did
know,
he say? Just out of curiosity.
oh my goodness, Lil Wayne says that he's never experienced racism.
Okay, all right, let's go on to something.
He's 33.
Let's go on to something else.
He's 33 years old. He said he's never experienced racism. He said when he comes out on stage and he opened his eyes, then all of the people that he saw in the audience were white, except for his manager or his hairdresser or something like this. Young brother, we got a long way to go.
How old is he? How old is he?
He's 33.
Grown
He's
man.
33. He's a grown man, you know, and God bless him. God bless him to open his eyes, you know, and I hope that he doesn't ever get caught traveling in anything less than a Bentley or a Maserati.
Wait a minute. Elliot Williams said, tell him to go back to the 17th ward and say that.
Oh, nice. I like that, Elliot. Yes, yeah. Go back to the 17th ward and say that. And I posted, ironically, I posted something this morning. It was a brother. I can't remember his name. In fact, I think he changed his name because I remember him right after Hurricane Katrina. The brother, the brother with the locks, the gray. He had salt and pepper. Brother with the locks, and he was doing an interview with a white gentleman today, and both of them were talking about the martial law that ensued right after Hurricane Katrina. Now, this is once again another example. This is another example of Katrina was 9 years ago. Now, I did see remnants of what they were talking about, but you almost have to be an information hound to be able to come in contact with some of these stories. But he was talking about how after Katrina, the white militia groups had roped off certain neighborhoods, I believe Algiers, and you couldn't gain entry, and they did the brown bag test. And if you were darker than a brown paper bag, then you had no entrance. They basically pinned you down in the area that you were in. And then it talked about the hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies that people that were killed, because he talked about the bodies that were riddled with bullet holes. You know, and how the militia groups were taking shots at the black people, and also how the firemen and the policemen abandoned their duties in terms of being able to serve and protect the people, and actually joined in with the forces of the militia on some level.
Well, I spent 2 years, so I'm not telling you what I guess. I spent 2 years in New Orleans right after Katrina. And I was there at what was Reunion Arena when hundreds of thousands of people.
Superdome.
No. I was at the arena in Dallas because when they came up, that's the first place they stopped. And I recall us having family napkins and all the things that we know that people were going to need, not just water. All the things that a human being need when you've been out for 2 or 3 days or 7 days. But you have to take a look and examine why you would watch someone who was an American, supposed to be citizens for 7 days, and not give them water, not give them care, not have someone come there. And then when you had Hugo Chavez was there before we were there, and you didn't let him in. You had Lowe's and Walmart was there at the line, and you would not let them in. For 7 days, our government didn't allow you to give care to women and children who died. That's neglect. That's a crime. And not to mention, we identified so many bodies that was rippled with bullets in their back while they were in the water. Now, why isn't somebody going to trial? Why isn't that a cold case? You know why? Because you still think of us as 3/5 of a human. Even today, that's why we have these 13th and 14th Amendment and 1965 voter. These are reminders of how this country feels about you. And for you to be foolish like an idiot like Lil Wayne, you sound like an addict. Beyond an idiot saying something like that, but you entitled to that because your music sounds the same to me. And with that being the case, y'all, we got to make some changes, period. You just got to wake up and realize it. That's why I like Paul Mooney. Some people have issues, man. He's too racist. He's just honest. He just ain't decorating what he's saying. He's telling you the truth. And that's what we have to do. And if you love me and we all Americans, if I speak out against injustice in America, I'm exercising my First Amendment right. We should all be applauding. But you call it a protest when I go sign up, pay a fee, let the city know that I'm about to do it, make sure the same people who are oppressing me are all comfortable while we go out and protest together. That's a march. But anyway, we're going to leave that alone. But if you don't write the narrative, someone else will write that narrative for you. And instead of you looking like the saviors of our community, you look like rebel rousers. You look like thugs, and that's how you describe when you respond.
You know, that is the job of mainstream media. It is to keep us appearing to be criminals, keeping us appearing to be in poverty and want. That is the narrative and we are to some extent. However, we're doing a lot of great things, and those great things never seem to be illuminated. I mean,
no. This was my girl Erica says that by Lil Wayne. See, we went into the bank years ago. They called the police on him. I remember that. So anyway, he just has, he's lost his memory, and that's what happens when you're that. So you got to make sure that we understand certain things, you all. First of all, don't lose your memory. What happens is this post-traumatic stress. Because what happens is you begin to align yourself with the people who beat you. Patty Hearst, she started to love the people who beat her. Matter of fact, she became a part of their family and was willing to die for them. And if you look at people who've been incarcerated in prisons of war.
Is that Stockholm? They call it Stockholm Syndrome?
I forget what they call it, but y'all got something you call hood syndrome, so I don't care what y'all call it. I don't trust it no way, but we know the behavior because it's being imposed upon us. They got something new out there called hood syndrome. Harvard.
Is it hood disease?
Hood disease in Harvard.
Listen, man, this is too
Wait a
much.
minute. When someone is addicted to crack cocaine, he is not a crackhead. He's an addict. That means he's a patient, someone who can't control that. But when we do it, you give us names. You know what that does? Is that means that you're not really human. We ignore your feelings.
Well,
and when it comes to black folk, we look for facts. We don't look for feelings.
Just like the DA who resigned. Now,
Who's this?
The DA here in Dallas. She just recently resigned.
Oh, did she?
Yes, she resigned because if she was in the hood, she would be called a pillhead.
That is right.
She would be called a pillhead. She was suffering from depression or whatever, and I was like, Sydney had posted something last week about her, and I said, well, why doesn't this headline read, desperate housewife with lipo on collagen injected pillhead resigns from office, because this is how, they use these types of terms, they write the narrative. This is how we are, this is how we,
compassion.
This is, they hit us, they assassinate us, they use all type of vulgar and offensive language to describe who we are,
When you do something,
convicted rapist.
You don't even start out with my name. Convicted racist, Jonathan so and so and so. I'm like, wait a minute, what's his name? And I thought once you paid your debt to society, it's supposed to be over. But that's why you still got parole, so you can still exercise the option to make sure I stay a slave. Because the 13th and 14th Amendment gives you due process except when you commit a crime. So you got policies and rules and waiting for us. It's even how you interpret these things. You looking at something you call an amendment, to me it's a reminder. Did you hear what I said? It's not an amendment. They are reminders of how you've been treated in the country. And that means that you got to take and circumvent that by creating something of your own. All I suggest is us rewriting the narrative by putting our resources together, our platforms together, and growing and telling people our story. That's the simplest way we can do it. We might not look fancy to begin with, but as long as we have good information and committed to the integrity of what we're doing, that's a start.
And we will be doing a show soon on tithes and offering, or tired of offering. Because it starts with the church. And I know we got a whole lot of Christian listeners, and this is not about Christianity. This ain't about religion. However, all of our money is in the church. And it seems like everybody is, skirting around that issue.
Or what you do with that money.
What do you do with that money? And why are you guys not, we got serious mega churches here. This is Dallas, Texas is the mega church epicenter. You know what I mean? It is the mega church mecca in the United States. Bishop Jakes is here. You got Frederick Haynes here, Dr. Frederick Haynes. You got Ricky Rush here. You got Pastor Tony Evans here. And
don't you miss one? There's gonna be some trouble.
Well, you're right. You're right because right off of Interstate 20, next to Dr. Haynes' huge edifice. There is another one, Full Gospel. They have another huge
My kids
edifice.
were going to the school one time. For them, I give them that big props. They did buy a school initially, and that's where the church was at the school. And I think they had one of the first accredited schools that was in this in the state of Texas, and ran quite proficiently for a long time. Purchased a great deal of land. So that's why a lot of times so the purpose of black people being able to buy and finance and houses. So it's a lot of things that some of you do, we don't know. I happen to know that because I knew the pastor.
But you know why we don't know it? Because we don't have no black press. We don't have no black media. So it's so it's not to get together with these pastors to castigate them, ridicule, or chastise. It ain't to do that. But it's like, look, man. You know, I know you pulling in $4 million every Sunday over here. You pulling in 1.x amount of million every Sunday over here. Y'all pulling in millions of dollars. You know, why do we not have black-owned stations? And I'm not talking about something that is exclusive to your church.
Right.
I'm talking
to
about
our community.
take your name off of it, man. That's all. That's grandstanding and vanity. You know, when we, everything has to say this, everything has to say that. We do understand branding, but at a certain point, your brand has grown big enough, and the real billionaires.
You come Jesus, you got that Jesus complex. You saying you want to be Christ-like, but in reality, you want to be Him. Because that's what you're doing. You misrepresent Him every Sunday when you mislead people and you really don't pay. And we should turn into Yahshua coming and whoop you out of that. That's just a different perspective of it. But every church is not that way, and I do understand, and I applaud those who are doing their job. But those who even speak out, but yet still don't reach out, you just as bad. You pimping. You trying to play us. You want to talk black, but you still want to act like you still one of the same. Some of these same people that we talk against, you are acting just like them in what you do your resources. KKDA closing down, banks closing down, schools closing down, hospitals not open. We should have our own research. You know, there have been biological attacks on black folks since we've been here. That's a matter of fact, not conjecture. So if we know these things, isn't my body, my mind, my community as important as my soul? My body and mind is here now. It's easy for you to talk smack about where I'm supposed to be going as opposed to how I'm living right now. So don't be hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray if you're Christians. Because let me tell you something. We've been working in the Christian community for your babies and our babies for a long time. The vast majority of the children that we get out of jail, these are Christians. You understand? These records we get expunged, these are Christian children. Crip blood, folk and people nation, rolling whatever you want to call them, these come from Christian communities. I'm not running out chasing after some Muslim brother who's trying to jack somebody. It happens every now and then. That's an exception, not the rule. This is Reverend so-and-so daughter who getting run through like a driveway. We got to deal with that. And some of you all who putting these poles in these churches, you mean you can put pole dancing in the church, but you can't sit up and you can't put like a bank in the church, or you can't put something else that can be beneficial.
Oh, wow.
We need to rethink. I love us because I understand the power of the church. But if we're gonna allow that to go astray, we gotta check ourselves because the pastor's not the only person. Nobody make you give you money. That's us.
Hey, peace to everybody. Thank everybody for tuning in.
Yeah.
The screen is a little bit far, so I haven't been able. I think I saw you, Dinah, Stephanie, Brother Lou, Malibu, Joe Hall. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. Listen. When Sister Equate, when her store, when she was having Pan-African Connection, shout out to that sister. That's an
Big
institution.
Time.
You know, that's an institution.
Young Kings
that's been and the Young Kings.
That's what's up.
They've been in the community for 30 years.
Yeah.
When they fell on hard times, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, no church went to the rescue.
Hey.
No church went to the rescue.
And you're not the only one who knew that she was a core part of this community. So it was like y'all that we didn't know.
I mean, when the churches, when we need to do something to rescue one of our own, when we need to put together a defense fund for one of our own, can the church go and say, look, we took up X amount of money, or we got this. Can we gonna put this to a vote before the congregation?
I like that.
You know what I mean? Can we get this 50,000?
Can we go help this community?
Can we go help this community?
Yeah.
Can we do this? We are going to have to start, because the Bible talks about what's going to happen to some of these preachers once they become brutish, and how the congregation is going to respond. And I'm not trying to propagate anything. I'm just saying that look, we got to go out here. I mean, we got to deal with these issues in our community.
Hey y'all, and before we close, say this, man. This is the you young brothers. A lot of you all listen to me. I get a lot of calls from you now. A lot of things are changing. Our numbers are going up. It was great to have Russell Simmons on, and looked like we got Paul Boone coming up, and several other biggies coming forward now that we can begin to project on. We have the largest commercial platform that's in commercial radio right now. I say conscious. So that means that we're aware, we're not lost, but we're also consciously aware of what we can say. But listen, brothers, us, going to war with each other every day, I gotta stop too, man. That's real talk. I ain't understand why. I know, as I said, I know they fought your home, tap your phone, mess with your mind till your will was gone. They just wouldn't quit, they wouldn't leave you alone, but still ain't no reason for you to turn around and destroy your own. I know, man, we go through a lot. And I know some of y'all call up talking about I'm gonna regulate on that nigga. You got whatever your terminology, you're gonna put your work in. Really what you're doing is you decodifying the fact you finna kill your brother. That's domestic violence. So if any of y'all got some new cuts out there about how you can stop a brother from killing another brother, you can make long green, you can make babies, you can make all these different things, but you can't make no way for your brother, for your bloodline. You wanna show me how bad you are as a brother, save your brother. Anybody can kill a brother. Nigga, you wanna show me how bad you are? Save that nigga. You see what I'm saying to you? Look, we relegate, and then out of your anger, we run a football like we angry. We shoot a basketball like we angry. Many times our problems is not about our physical ability, it's about our anger. And what we channel in that anger. And if we channel it and we put it together collectively, we can change a nation, a world. Do you know how many people imitate us? When they're oppressed, I was just happened to be online last week. Everybody, Gentleman Square, whatever they do, holding hands, singing, we shall overcome in other languages. The world has watched us. And as a result of everything that we've done for it, I tell you something, Anglos, you need to be happy that there ain't been a Nat Turner all over the United States. And when that brother put that movie out, you start castigating him. Look, y'all, wake up. I'll holler back at y'all next week.
Peace, love, and life, fam.